$1 billion in aid. Yes, 1 billion, quote unquote, aid has been sent to other countries to drive the global drug war over the past 10 years. $1 billion sent to destroy lives, and yet it's called aid. We're giving aid to other countries by supporting their catastrophic drug wars. This is from Filter Magazine. The United States, Europe, and other rich nations give hundreds of millions of dollars in foreign quote-unquote aid to fund the devastating global drug war, details a new report from Harm Reduction International. Rather than reducing poverty and hunger or improving health and education, this money is instead bankrolling police and militaries that violate human rights and add to crises faced by poor and marginalized communities. HRI is urging the U.S. and other governments to, quote, stop using money from their limited aid budgets to support policies that harm and kill people who use drugs. And, you know, whenever we mention drugs, I think it's a good point to mention the fact that, you know, it depends on what type of drug as to whether it's illegal, as to whether you'll have your whole life ruined because you had a certain kind of drug. Other kinds of drugs like prescription pills, etc., you could have a load of those in your pocket. Not going to be stopped. You got a prescription for Adderall, you can run around with who knows how much in your pockets, and the drugs, the cops don't care about those drugs. I don't think they even check to see whether it's your prescription. They're just like, oh, Adderall, fine. Even though it's basically just another form of coke. But so it depends on the type of drugs. And that's the same for other countries as well, you know? Certain drugs are viewed as the bad kind. The report, called Aid for the War on Drugs, finds that from 2012 to 2021, 30 donor countries spent $974 million in international aid funding for narcotics control, quote unquote. This includes at least $70 million spent in countries that have the death penalty for drug charges. So basically, we have our catastrophic drug war here at home. I've covered it many times. The drug war is designed to destroy the lives of those in the lower class. If you're an investment banker, you're not going to get arrested for having coke in your pocket. You're not going to get arrested for having a joint in your pocket in states where that's still illegal. No, it's for arresting lower classes, and it's even more so per capita, percentage-wise. It's even more so for arresting black and brown people. Even when it was created, when the drug war was created under Nixon, Ehrlichman, a former aide to Nixon, has admitted in the 90s, he admitted in an interview that we knew what we were doing when we did it. It was designed to destroy and arrest two of Nixon's greatest enemies, black communities and activist communities. The report finds that, well, hold on. Over 10 years, the U.S. was by far the biggest donor, providing over half of all global drug war funding at $550 million. Next came the European Union, $282 million. Japan, $78 million. The United Kingdom, $22 million. Germany, $12 million. Finland, $9 million. And South Korea, $8 million. So really, by far the two biggest in these hundreds of millions of dollars are European Union and the U.S., but if you throw the United Kingdom in with the European Union, you're talking $300 million from European Union, UK, $550 from the U.S. So the vast majority of this is coming from U.S. and Europe, sent to other countries as quote-unquote aid to destroy people's lives for doing a drug. Now, in some cases, the reason the U.S. is sending money is because drug production is sometimes done by revolutionaries or various kinds of fighters for different government in the country, because they're need to live lives outside of the mainstream because they're fighting the government. Sometimes drug sales and production is where they tend to make their money. And so when the U.S. is supporting those, is against those kind of revolutionaries, like in Colombia for a long time we were, then we'll send money to these countries to crush those revolutionaries. And the way to do that is by doing things like dumping defoliant all over their villages and shit like that, even if it causes cancer, like Agent Orange. Funding for 16 governments. Some of this funding went to 16 governments that execute people for drug convictions. As horrific as that is. The global racist impact is also clear. From Brazil's grossly disproportionate incarceration of Black people on drug charges to crop eradication and police violence targeting indigenous farmers in coca growing regions of Colombia. So I thought I'd bring you that because it's something we essentially never hear about, is the U.S. funding drug wars in other countries so that those countries can also harm, imprison, and sometimes even murder their own citizens. Yay, America!